Welcome back to the C Morning Show, and on our signature segment, Book Talk, we're going to do it a little different because we're going to do it online, but we will discuss a new book titled Unrequited Love, Duterte's China Embrace. Through archival research and interviews, authors construct a comprehensive and gripping tale of Duterte's foreign policy shift towards China, along with his extraordinary efforts to court and maintain this relationship during an event after his presidency, despite China's flagrant threat to their sovereignty. So without further ado, joining us at the book's authors, all the way from Philippines, we have Marites Vitug and also Camille Elemia from... Hello, good morning, ladies.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for joining us, and too bad cannot have you live here together in the studio. Maybe next time, but it doesn't. Yes, but still, I'm excited about your book. First of all, I would like to congratulate both of you. Congratulations for this book, and let's get deeper to this book. So. Marites and Camille, can you give a short brief about what does the book tell about generally?
Okay, I'll start off and Camille can answer more.
Yeah.
Really, we covered 6 years of President Duterte's pivot to China from 2016 to 2022. What is the impact of this foreign policy shift on our security, on the economy, as well as rule of law. So the book is full of stories and reportage on these 6 years of the policy shift. Yeah.
So
Camille can
add some.
provide more.
Yes, please, Camille.
Yeah, we really tried to simplify the way we wrote the stories and this book because we want ordinary Filipinos and even Southeast Asians to learn a thing or two from this book, because while this mainly focuses on the Philippines, we also touched on some instances in Indonesia, for example, in Vietnam and Malaysia. So this also has some relations to what's happening in the region.
Okay, so along with during the writing process, you both are work as a journalist as well. So how do you guys are maintaining between your work as a journalist, but at the same time you want to talk about this Unrequited Love, from you both perspective?
Yeah, we worked on this for more than a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Camille.
Yeah.
Okay. So at that time, I was also busy doing field work for one of them is See Today. So because it's not really so much a challenge except for time management, but in terms of being factual and adhering to the journalistic values, it's basically the same because our book is based on facts.
Yeah.
It's based on documents. It's based on research. So somehow, when I was doing this book, it also informed my current coverage of China.
Oh, okay. So talking about the unrequited love, it can be one-sided affairs. It can be mixed feelings, even unreciprocated affairs. So what kind of unrequited love that you want to share to the readers during Duterte's presidency?
Yeah, Duterte kept saying how much he loved China, how much he loved Xi Jinping. So he practically set aside the Philippine victory in 2016 when the International Court ruled that China's 9-line claim is illegal. So he practically set that aside and did not really protect the interests of the country in terms of asserting our sovereign rights over the West Philippine Sea. So that's why we call it unrequited, because he showed so much affection for China, yet in return, China did not give the same amount of affection in return This could also be seen in the pledges of loans which did not come through, as well as in the West Philippine Sea, wherein China Coast Guard vessels and maritime militia continued to intrude into our waters.
All right, very interesting. So, well, we've been covering this and we've been reporting about this as well for the past probably 3 years about the relationship. A special relationship between Manila and Beijing, especially during the Duterte presidency through his foreign policy. So this is aligned with the fact as Duterte is the first Philippines president to openly take side on China. So is this become the highlight of the book? Or is there anything that you want to share probably or highlight it?
Maybe Camille first.
Yeah, please, Camille.
Yeah. Yeah, it is mainly the book focuses on that because it's the first, as many as your audience may know, the Philippines' traditional ally is the United States, and this is the first time ever that a sitting president of the country removed all pretenses of balance and openly cast the Philippines' slot with China. So we felt this book, by the way, was Marites' idea. So she told me that this has to be chronicled. This is a crucial part of our history. So the book mainly focuses on that. And while the South China Sea rather got a lot of attention from the public and when we were marketing this book, when we were promoting this book, but this book also chronicled how the other facets of the Philippine society were affected or were influenced by Duterte's attempt to pivot China.
Okay, and Marites, you want to add something to this matter about the this special relationship and the highlight of the book?
It's very interesting because we devoted a few chapters to the pandemic when China donated Sinovac vaccines to the Philippines and as well as to Southeast Asian countries. But in our book, we write that despite Duterte's love for China, the Philippines was the last to
Yeah.
receive Sinovac
Right,
vaccines.
right. I remember that
So,
moment.
and Indonesia was ahead,
Yeah,
other
yeah.
countries. So that's just one illustration of
Okay.
the one-sidedness
Yeah.
or even lack of affection from China.
All right, all right. So we know that there's a few controversial things that happens during Duterte's ruling Philippines. So will this book also explore various events between Philippines and China, which were considered controversial during the term?
Yes, Camille can talk more about that, but generally, during the pandemic again, Chinese companies were treated more favorably than Philippine companies when it came to supplying uh, PPEs, personal protective equipment. You remember those days? Also, masks and other equipment needed to combat the pandemic. So, Camille can talk more in detail about this.
All right, please, Camille.
Yes, so one of the chapters of this book focuses on the controversial scandal that happened during the pandemic. During the pandemic, the Philippines had one of the longest lockdowns in the world. So, based on the report from our audit departments, the government chose to buy around $1 billion equipment. This includes personal protective equipment like masks, face shields, and all those things from China. And we found out that this company is underfunded or has little capital and has no experience prior to getting the government contract. And it was a big issue in the Philippines because it shows how the government back then, the Duterte administration, hurt policy towards China. It hurt Philippine manufacturers because while some Philippine companies spent millions of pesos trying to produce these products, the other Chinese companies were able to get around 1 billion contracts.
All right, so we know that there's a lot of things going on for the past 4 years, not only here in Indonesia, but in the world that you are already mentioned. One chapter is focusing and speaking about what happened during the pandemic in the country, in the Philippines, of course. And basically, the book consists of how many chapters? 17? 17 chapters. Is that correct?
Yes.
So please,
17 short
could you please
chapters.
walk us through it? Probably you can give a short brief about what is in the book from each chapter.
Okay, let me start. We begin from the roots of Duterte's affection for China. We try to understand where Duterte was coming from. How was his how were his growing up years in Davao, where he met a lot of immigrants or migrants from mainland China, as well as Chinese Filipino businessmen. So we trace that until he became president, and the flurry of exchanges, of visits between the Philippines and China. Duterte visited maybe 6 times at least and met with Xi Jinping 8 times. This is apart from his visits to Beijing. So we look at that, and then we also go, the next part will go to how the rule of law was broken. If we recall, again, in the pandemic, ahead of the frontliners, ahead of the nurses, the doctors, the bodyguards of Duterte got vaccinated ahead of everybody else, including Duterte. So we showed how the law was broken during the pandemic. And then the third part, we go into the China funded projects and China grants to the Philippines at the time. This is quite a bit long. We have 4 chapters there. And then the next one is the unfulfilled promises, meaning the loans that China pledged but did not come through. So maybe, Camille, the remaining part of the book.
Yeah, so I'd also like to highlight with the show of support part, the one that Marites talked about. We have a chapter on China's media influence here. I think this is the first time ever that this was written in length.
Okay.
We were really hoping that the Filipino public would would finally realize and understand what these tactics are. And then moving forward, but part 4, like Marita said, unfulfilled promises. And then next is the flashpoints in the South China Sea. This also included the delayed or what didn't push through the the joint oil and gas exploration with China. Eventually, the Philippines backed out of it, which was a good case because the Supreme Court of our country eventually ruled that the Philippines must have a majority stake in these kinds of in these kinds of joint deals. And then the last part will delves into the pushback. This talks about the institutions and the personalities that really stood by the country's claims, especially in the South China Sea. So what happened was, even if Duterte, a popular president back then, was trying to pivot to China, the military and the Foreign Affairs Department, our foreign ministry, as well as our Coast Guard, really stayed the course and did not follow or did not heed Duterte's call to pivot to China.
Whoa, okay. So basically this book is it's quite like a recap from the very beginning until and then the rule of Philippines are changing. So people can actually get the history and the track record and from each book from their hands. And we know that since June 2022, President Marcos has pivoted foreign policy back towards a traditional ally, the U.S., and sharply confronted China. Is it this also outlined in this book?
Yes, the book, that that is covered in the epilogue. The last
Oh,
part
okay.
of the book covers the first year of Marcos and shows how the pendulum swung to, as you said, back to our traditional allies and new friends. Not really new, but strengthening ties with old friends like Japan, Australia, and now more countries from Europe are interested in the Philippines. Even New Zealand and other countries as well.
All right.
Maybe I forgot to mention that in a chapter wherein we discuss the oil resources in Reed Bank, we cite the example of Indonesia, which was able to successfully explore and drill for oil and gas off Natuna Islands.
Oh, yeah.
Even if China was harassing you, I mean your vessels.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. All right. So it's very interesting book. This is my last question. So, what are you guys hoping from the reader? That they can take from this book. The key. What do you guys wish for from the readers? Key takeaway from them,
Well, first they have to buy the book.
of course.
Well,
will
actually,
will
it's
be
really
available
to-
here as well, Maritos. Will it be available here in Indonesia, hopefully.
Eventually there will be an e-book.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so I hope that readers. That's the initial sale will be via ebook. We'll see how we can make the print copy available in Jakarta.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in with us this morning, and best of luck for the book as well. And cannot wait to see you guys in person somewhere, sometimes. Camille, we are looking for you to be here in the studio. And best of luck for you, Marites. Thank you so much for your time. Camille, thank you so much. And I'll see you guys around. Okay, we'll take a break, and after that, Carol will be back with another talk show. So we can mark this day as a talk show day with Olympics debutant Joe Aditya Wijaya Kurniawan and Azahra Permatahani, along with their coach Albert Sutanto. Don't miss it.